Bedtime Story Collection presents The Crown Affair, from the Files of a Hard-Boiled Detective, by Joe Dumpty. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and lost his crown, and that's where I come in. Who am I? I'm Joe Dumpty, private investigator. I'm the go-to guy for detective work in Mother Gooseland. I cracked the Humpty Dumpty case when I figured out that my brother, Humpty, didn't just accidentally fall from that wall. Chief Goose still can't wrap her beak around the fact that I've solved more crimes than her gaggle of police geese. So it must have ruffled her feathers when Jill gave me a jingle. What's crackin', Jill? Meet me at the hill. Jack's crown is missing, Jill said. Chief Goose thinks he just lost it, but I'm sure someone took it. If that crown isn't found by 2 o'clock today, the Gooseland Games will be cancelled, Jill sighed. I told Jack not to wear that crown except on special occasions. Will you take the case, Joe? I'm one tough egg, but I've got a soft shell for damsels in distress. Not to mention, I'm the biggest Gooseland Games fan this side of Old Mother Hubbard's house. Consider it taken, I said. When I rolled up to the hill, all the king's horses and all the king's men were loading Jack onto a stretcher. Joe, I'm so glad you're here, Jill said. How's Jack? I asked. Can I talk to him? Suit yourself, Chief Goose interrupted. I'll check on my team. They're bound to turn up that crown soon. I went over to talk to Jack. Hey, I said, it's Joe Dumpty. Jack's eyes flew open. He looked right at me. It's Jack, he said. No, I said, it's Joe Dumpty, private investigator. It's Jack, I tell you, Jack shouted. Was this a clue? Jill shook her head. That fall must have scrambled his brains. How I hate that word scrambled. But I'm hard-boiled enough not to show any reaction. I pulled out my notebook. Let's take it from the top, Jill. Jack and I went up the hill, Jill said. But all of a sudden there was this big boom, boom, boom overhead. The ground shook and Jack and I both fell down. When did you notice the crown was missing? I asked. Not right away, Jill replied. First, I checked on Jack. Then I called 911. After that, it's a blur. I was a little dizzy myself. I came tumbling down after, you know. Fall or no fall, Jill's always been a little dizzy. Jill, I said, I need you to focus. Did you see anyone, either before or after your fall? I thought I saw someone run by after we fell, Jill answered. But it's hard to say who. Maybe it was someone getting ready for the race today. Maybe. But why would they steal the crown when they had a chance to win it fair and square this afternoon? I'm going to lay an egg if I can't get to the games by 2 to honk the starting horn, Chief Goose interrupted. Everyone was going to lay a whole dozen eggs if the crown wasn't found and the games had to be cancelled. Thankfully, Spider arrived. Ever since the Humpty Dumpty case, Spider's been doing legwork for me. He's got sharp eyes too. If he couldn't spot a crown hiding in all this grass, nobody could. Spider got busy combing the area. But just as I suspected, the crown was long gone. Someone had to have taken it. I whipped out my notebook and reviewed what clues I had so far. Wow, not much. Just Jack repeating the name Jack. Do you know how many Jacks live in Mother Gooseland? I decided to start with the closest one. As I approached Jack Sprat's place, I heard two people fighting. Could they be fighting about the crown? My yoke trembled as I knocked on the door. It swung open, and there were the Sprats, playing tug-of-war with... What is that? I asked. It's a red herring, Jack Sprat said. I was about to fry it, but he wants it broiled, Mrs. Sprat added. Jack Sprat could eat no fat. His wife could eat no lean. Apparently it made it tough for them to agree on how to fix their fish. But they did agree on something. We both felt an earthquake, Jack Sprat said, when I asked if they had seen or heard anything that morning. Seen anyone? I asked. Not until now, when you showed up, Mrs. Sprat said. You might want to talk to our neighbor, Mr. Sprat said. He's always out racing around. I thanked the Sprats and headed next door. At first, I didn't think Jack Be Nimble was home, because normally he'd answer on the first knock. I waited and waited until the door finally opened and I saw why Jack had taken so long to answer. What happened to you? I asked. Jack invited me in. This morning, he said, I was practicing my candlestick jump when this big boom, boom, boom shook the house. I tripped, fell, and hurt my foot. Sounds painful, I said. You don't know the half of it, Jack said. When I landed, I ended up sitting on the candle. Between his bum foot and his scorched bottom, Jack wouldn't have been nimble or quick enough to grab the crown this morning. What do you think that boom was? I asked. Maybe you should ask Jack Hammer, Jack Be Nimble said. He's always building something. When I knocked on the door of the house that Jack built, a familiar blonde answered. What are you doing here? I asked. I'm house-sitting for Jack Hammer, Goldie said. He's been out of town all week. Out of town? I was running out of suspects, unless Goldie knew something, or someone. Where were you around 8 this morning? I asked. Seriously? I never get up before noon, Goldie said. But this morning a loud boom woke me, so I went out for breakfast. The muffin man serves a sweet bowl of porridge. See anyone while you were out? I asked. Yes, I literally ran into a dude I went to nursery school with, Goldie said. Jack, what's his name? He was muttering something about a crown. You might be able to catch him at the muffin man's. Sure enough, when I got to the muffin man's bake shop, there was little Jack Horner sitting in the corner. Word on the street is the Gooseland Game's crown's gone missing, little Jack said. And Jill hired you to find it. Ah, but I heard that you needed a crown, I said accusingly. Little Jack smiled wide and pointed. Thanks to a cracked tooth from a plum pit, I've already got a crown from the dentist. There goes that lead, I thought. Any idea who'd take the crown? I don't know, little Jack said. But on my way here, a guy ran by me lightning fast. I thought maybe he was someone practicing for the race today." "Did you get a good look at him?" I asked. "I didn't," little Jack said, "but he dropped this." There was only one person who could have dropped this magic bean, but that person wasn't even allowed in downtown Gooseland. Not after he'd been caught stealing from the giant. Jack Beanstalk's mum still lived on a farm outside of town. I'd heard she'd grounded Jack for life after he did jail time for stealing from the giant and was banned from the Gooseland Games. Maybe Miss Beanstalk knew where I could find her son. I called Spider and told him where I was going and why. Then I asked him to do something for me. "Could you take a run up the beanstalk and look around? Maybe you can catch the giant at home." When Jack's mum opened the door, I showed her the magic bean little Jack Horner had given me. "Where did that come from?" she asked. "Somewhere your son wasn't supposed to be," I said. "He dropped it this morning in downtown Gooseland." "That's impossible," Jack's mum said. "Jack's been in his room all day." My phone rang as I followed Jack's mum into the house. It was Spider. "I'm with the giant," he said. "Jack tried to run off with a bag of the giant's gold today. When the giant told him to stop, Jack laughed and taunted the poor guy until he was hopping mad. The giant then chased Jack, who dropped the bag of gold and disappeared down the beanstalk." "When did this happen?" I asked. "Around 8, Spider said. 8? That's when everyone felt the ground shake. It must have been the giant running after Jack." Jack wasn't in his room, but the window was open. I stuck my head out and looked around. It would be a crime to have to cancel the games on such a bright, sunny day. I checked my watch. Almost 2 o'clock. That's when I saw a flash of gold in the trees. "Thank you, Mr. Sun." Things were looking up. I called Spider back and told him to hurry over. I pointed out the window. "Is there something over there?" I asked Jack's mum. "Just Jack's old tree house," she said. I raced outside and saw a ladder nailed to the side of a tree. Where was Spider when I needed him? I looked up, and there was Jack Beanstalk, wearing the missing crown. "Jack Beanstalk, bring that crown down right now," I shouted. "It's not yours." "It is now," Jack said. "Finders keepers." Jack Beanstalk had to have been the guy Jack and Jill saw running by the well. And he must have been the one who'd almost knocked down little Jack Horner. Jack Hill had indeed been trying to clue me in on who'd taken the crown. But I knew there was more to the story. "You didn't just take the crown, Beanstalk," I said. "You made sure to taunt the giant first, to get him to chase you. You knew he'd shake all of Mother Gooseland, and Jack and Jill wouldn't stand a chance of staying on their feet. Then you slid down the beanstalk and grabbed the crown off the ground." Jack Beanstalk smirked slyly. "Timing is everything." "It'll be your fault if the Gooseland Games are cancelled because you stole the crown," I said. "Do you want to ruin it for everyone?" "I don't care," Jack said. "I can't compete in that dumb old race anyway. Besides, everyone knows I can run faster and climb higher than anyone in Mother Gooseland. The crown should be mine." It would have been yours if you hadn't tested positive for magic beans at the finish line last year, I said. Bring that crown down right now. Come and get it, Jack Beanstalk said. Oh, wait, you can't. You Dumpty boys are scared of heights. But I'm not, Spider said, soaring onto the scene. I almost laughed. Jack Beanstalk was jumping around like he had beans in his britches. This guy could steal from a giant, but was scared of an itsy-bitsy spider? The crown slipped off his head. I held out my hat, hoping that my experience as catcher for the Gooseland gagglers would serve me well. Keep your eyes on him, I told Spider. I have to get this crown to Chief Goose before the games are cancelled. Good work, Joe, Chief Goose said. You came through for everyone in Mother Gooseland. And great hustle getting the crown here. Maybe next year you should run in the games. I smiled and shook my head. Thanks, Chief, I said. But I think I'll stick to running after bad guys. I've just gotten word that the cow jumped over the moon, and no one's seen her since. It's time for this egg to get cracking again. The end.
Thank you.